Hey girl, can I buy you a shot? Same old thought, hell why not? Same old bar, same routine, same 2 drinks for a one-time thing. You're dancing in the neon light. You tell yourself that it's alright, when deep down you know you could do better, just trying to hold it all together. If your heart's getting tired of the late night, baby, swing by us. If you can't tell the truth from the lies, if wrong feels right, and last night was the last time, like the last night. If you want more than a number, cause lately you've been feeling like a number. From one broken heart to another, you'll never find love if you're just looking for a lover. You'll never find love if you're just looking for a lover. You'll never find love if you're just looking for a lover. Hey girl, don't feel too bad. Get anything you want when you look like that. If all you really want is a man that don't leave, let me be the man you need. If your heart's getting tired of the late night, baby, swing by us. If you can't tell the truth from the lies, if wrong feels right, and last night was the last time, like the last time. If you want more than a number, cause lately you've been feeling like a number. From one broken heart to another, you'll never find love if you're just looking for a lover. You'll never find love if you're just looking for a lover. You'll never find love if you're just looking for a lover. Getting tired of the late night, baby, swing by us. If you can't tell the truth from the lies, if wrong feels right, and last night was the last time, like the last time. If you want more than a number, cause lately you've been feeling like a number. From one broken heart to another, you'll never find love if you're just looking for a lover. Since you said goodbye, I've been out of my mind. No, I ain't gonna lie, it's been a damn good time. I woke up hungover, been drunk since Tuesday night. Is it bad that I feel so good? Is it right that I don't feel wrong? I'm not saying that I hate you, but I'm getting tired of checking my phone, staying up at night, hurting, wondering if you're with somebody else, flirting. Yeah, it ain't worth it, but I finally learned how to let it go. If you wonder what I'm doing, this is all you should know. I woke up hungover, been drunk since Tuesday night. I can't stay sober. Since you said goodbye, I've been out of my mind. No, I ain't gonna lie, it's been a damn good time. I woke up hungover, been drunk since Tuesday night. A long drive to clear my head, a late night with a couple of friends. It's always summer when the party never ends. Conversation with people I never met, no strings attached, laid back. Made peace with the past, I ain't worried about that, cause I finally learned how to let it go. If you wonder what I'm doing, this is all you should know. I woke up hungover, been drunk since Tuesday night. I can't stay sober. Since you said goodbye, I've been out of my mind. No, I ain't gonna lie, it's been a damn good time. I woke up hungover, been drunk since Tuesday night. sober. Since you said goodbye, I've been out of my mind. No, I ain't gonna lie, it's been a damn good time. I woke up hungover, been drunk since Tuesday night. I woke up hungover, been drunk since Tuesday night. I can't stay sober. Since you said goodbye, I've been out of my mind. No, I ain't gonna lie, it's been a damn good time. I woke up hungover, been drunk since Tuesday night. She keeps a cross on the nightstand, carries crown in a Coke can. She rocks hand-it-down, hand-me-downs. Every boy in this town wants to be her lucky man. She's a Southern Cinderella, perfectly put together. I know you've heard it all before, I ain't saying anymore. If you could meet her, you would understand. I'm in love with a small town girl, a rebel heart that rocks my world. She's so beautiful it hurts, all I want is her. I'm in love with a small town. I'm in love with a small town girl, a rebel heart that rocks my world. She's so beautiful it hurts, all I want is her. I'm in love with a small town. She's a yes sir, no ma'am, only hangs with a couple friends. She's got a part-time job, yeah, the rest of the time she's off chasing stars in the heartland. She smiles at her worst, puts everybody else first. I know you think that I'm crazy, cause I'm crazy enough to fall in love with a small town girl. I'm in love with a small town girl, a rebel heart that rocks my world. She's so beautiful it hurts, all I want is her. I'm in love with a small town. I'm in love with a small town girl, a rebel heart that rocks my world. She's so beautiful it hurts, all I want is her. I'm in love with a small town. Small town. I'm in love with a small town. I'm in love with a small town. I'm in love with a small town girl, a rebel heart that rocks my world. She's so beautiful it hurts, all I want is her. I'm in love with a small town. I'm in love with a small town girl, a rebel heart that rocks my world. She's so beautiful it hurts, all I want is her. I'm in love with a small town.
Yo, what is up? What is up? You got me and Seth Alley's seat over here. But no, happy Friday, y'all. Yo, what is up, Seth? Welcome.
What's happening, my man?
Dude, we're just listening to some of your songs, getting all cozy, ready for the weekend.
There you go.
Yeah, man. I like to start these things off by just introducing myself and then introducing you. My name is Chris Marniago. I go by Voices Chris on social media. Hell Yes is all about celebrating the creative process and the people that make it happen. Mondays, we have an A&R based stream for anybody who's interested in doing A&R or understanding better what A&R people are thinking about when they're listening to music. On Wednesdays, we listen to unreleased demos, provide constructive criticism, and celebrate new releases as a community. And then to close out the week, we get to do awesome live interviews with people that I admire. And our guest tonight is genre-bending gentleman here, Seth Alley. So
genre-bending gentleman, I like that.
Genre-bending gentleman. It's like you're like the David Blaine of country. That's the way that I feel like hearing genre bending gentleman sounds like, or I feel like it should be like, oh, genre bending gentleman, hey, or
I
something
might
like
have
that.
to like actually put that in my bio now. I'm genre bending gentleman.
So, genre bending Southern gentleman, Seth Alley. So first off, how has the first year of marriage been for you? I think, yeah, one of the last trips that I did before the pandemic hit was
Right.
for your wedding.
That's right. It's coming up February 15th. It'll be a full year. It's been getting married's been
It's like you guys went on
I
a
didn't
honeymoon and then never stopped.
yeah, I know it's hard to explain. Like I never saw myself like being locked away with my wife for almost an entire year, but it's been great. Like 2020 was, obviously a wash, but like for a lot of reasons it was a really good year too, to just kind of get to spend time that I wouldn't necessarily be able to spend otherwise. So it's been great.
Oh, dude, I love that. Well, we like starting the interviews off like with a bit of a rewind. So I guess if we're gonna go all the way back to the beginning, we're gonna be talking about Sparta a bit.
Yeah.
And my understanding of that area is all of the hiking and waterfalls and everything. But what was it like
Wait a
growing?
minute, back up for a second. You've gone to my hometown so many times going hiking, and I've never once been invited.
That's
That's what we
wild.
need to talk about. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm also like the type of person who just like I just go everywhere alone. Well,
Yeah.
alone really with it's me and Kristen, but we do got to go at some point. When but what I wanted to ask was like what it was like growing up there, and let's leave music out of it for a second. Talk about sights, the smells, the people, the food, like
Yeah, man.
all of it.
Uh, it's Sparta's definitely really, really quiet. Um, there's not a lot of things to honestly do. Like growing up, I've never actually had anybody ask me that question. Growing up was definitely I don't know, simple. Like it's exactly what you would think a small town would be. Just like you've got your small group of friends. There's literally nothing to do other than get in trouble or drink or do drugs or something.
Was there like a like in where I grew up? It was like there was a steak and shake that everybody went to, or some. Was there something like that, or like
Yeah,
what
like
was the spot?
I mean, like in our small town, like the there was two main hangouts. You were either at Hardee's or Sonic, and it's about probably a mile and a half between the two. So like after school, people would just kind of drive that little strip and go back and forth between Hardee's and Sonic, and I don't know, just get into shit, honestly.
Like what kind of shit though? Like is like the kind of shit that like I feel like as somebody who like didn't really live like a country lifestyle like whatever I've seen on TV where there are like ATVs involved, where like
You know,
horses, like what was the
no,
like what kind
definitely,
of trouble were you
definitely
guys getting into?
definitely no horses. It was more of stuff like, either you had some sort of like beef with somebody at school that you were going to get into a fight with, or you were just trying to come up with things to do like, hey, let's go to so and so's house and I don't know, hang out, mess stuff up. I don't know. Like it's
Did you get in a lot of fights?
I definitely got into like most of my childhood was fights. Having red hair and a temper, I was a target for people to just like try to tempt me or just bully me all the time, honestly.
Yeah, it's wild. I'm like I'm terrified of fighting. One because of my like small stature, but also because I just like I don't know. I just like I there I just know I would lose. But that at the same time I do have these like things where I'm like, man, I wonder what it would be like if I was ever in a fight. But I'm also a
I totally
pacifist and I'm just like, yo, I'm just trying to like be very neutral about all of this right now, and your energy is a lot like that, like I feel like that's the vibe that I would like give off,
Yeah.
or I'd like run really fast.
Yeah, I haven't been in a fight in a very long time, but I mean they're all the same. You're always terrified until the first person throws that punch, and then you know what they're bringing, and it's kind of like riding a bike. You just kind of get into it. You're either gonna get beat up or you're gonna lose, and then it'll be over.
Totally. Well, I'm gonna just avoid that for the rest of my time, like that.
I feel like you're,
As much as I can do it. I've
yeah,
been
you're,
told I could be a good boxer just because of my build, but I've never tried that either. So,
yeah, you're too nice of a guy. Like I don't see you like ever anybody ever being like, you know what, fuck that guy. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't the case for me. It was just more like I don't know what it is about red hair. I remember the South Park episode coming out with gingers have no souls or whatever, and it's like that's all for some reason that's always been a target, and
is
people
that what
just
it set it
love it.
off?
I
You
have
think it
no
was
idea.
South Park that like really made all those fights happen for you?
I guess I don't know. Maybe I just look like a person that needs to get punched in the face or something. I don't know.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know about that, but we'll have to go back and see like what the win ratio was
Yeah,
for those fights at some point.
I'll give you
I'm sure everybody remembers it differently though.
yeah. I'll give you an example of something outside of fights though that like for me this is kind of tying music into it, but like when I was a senior in high school, when I stuff that we would like do like one of my buddies had a truck and we kind of sealed the truck bed with like plastic lining and then filled it up with water and everybody got in it like a hot tub and he just drove us back and forth between Hardee's and Sonic and we just chilled and like laughed and yelled at people while we were hanging out in the back of like a hot
So
tub
that's what it
stuff
was.
like that.
Everybody was jealous that you had a mobile hot tub, and that's what
Maybe,
caused all the fights. No,
maybe.
I mean, and you sort of you mentioned it tying into music. Was that like what I guess what role did music play in that town? Was it just like whatever was on the radio? Was there like a scene of people who played music? Like,
No, there wasn't really a scene of people that played music or that I was aware of really. I don't know how for me music was I found music through TV. Like, my dad was always playing something or I had like VH1 or CMT or something like that was always in the background. BET like all that kind of stuff was how music kind of found me. I wouldn't say that my hometown was necessarily a music town, although my great uncle is he was I'm gonna mess this up, but some sort of world famous fiddler. Like he's like in the Hall of Fame at the not the Ryman, but the Opry.
the devil went down
Great
to Georgia
Opry.
kind of
Yeah,
vibes.
yeah, that kind of guy. Like yeah, my uncle's name was Benny Martin, and he was like a big music guy or whatever. Got to tour with Lester Flats and a lot of cool people, and but there wasn't really a music scene. No.
So then what was like the first memory of music for you, like in general then? Like what I guess like there's two memories in my head for people who make music, and you could tell me I'm completely wrong, because sometimes I feel like for some people it's like the same memory. But what was the memory that like what's your first memory of like music in your life, and then what was like sort of the memory where you're like, okay, I want to do this as like a career? Were they two
Yeah,
different things or were they the same
they
thing?
they definitely were two different things. I think my first memory, the thing that I always think about that really got me started in music was Eminem released an LP in 1999 that somehow I got a hold of, and I was sitting on my trampoline, and I just got lost in it. And uh, somewhere like a couple of weeks later, my dad found out that I was listening to it, and he wasn't really happy about that. So he went out and bought me a bunch of CDs, and he was like, "This is what you're listening to now." And it was stuff like it was like Dave Matthews Band. I think Creed was one of them. Uh, just
Late
a
90s, that sounds about right.
yeah, yeah. So it was like, and I remember hearing a Dave Matthews song. Dave Matthews CD was the first CD that I put in. I was like, I'll give this a try. And I heard a song called Satellite, and I just got enamored by the guitar playing. And I had been begging my dad for a drum set, but he didn't want to like listen to me play drums, so he bought me a guitar that could plug into a little amp that had headphones, so he didn't have to hear me play. And that, for some reason, that song really just kind of like made me go, man, I want to do that. I want to like be that guy. So yeah.
And then just earliest memory of like a song before that? Like, because clearly, like that was what made you want to do it. But do you remember like a song that affected you, and you still didn't really understand what it was? Like when you were a kid. Like I remember, for example, listening to "Sweet Dreams" was the by the Eurythmics was the first song that I ever like memorized. Like really, it was kind of like the hook. It was like melody, and I would just like regurgitate it back. I made my babysitter quit, according to my mom, because I wouldn't sing any other song, and I just sang that song over and over and
Wow.
over,
I'll,
and I was obsessed with it.
I'll say, you know what? It's a weird song like this. For some reason, every time I hear this song or when I think about this song and then I go and play it, it hits me way different than anything else in my life. And I have no idea why. But What If God Was One of Us by, what is it, Joan Osborne? Is that the.
Who's the person who did that originally though? Was it maybe
There
it was
was,
that recording though? I mean, sometimes
yeah, that girl, it's a female.
yeah,
And
Joan
I remember,
Osborne, One of
yeah,
Us.
yeah. Yeah, that song, I was a little kid and I was in my parents' bedroom, and that was when VH1 was doing pop-up videos. And for some reason, I was like eating a Happy Meal, and life was good. And that song, something resonated with me like nothing else in my life has. And it's not even that great of a song if if you want my real opinion. But
But that's the thing is it's like it's but you're just hitting on something there, right? Like it's not always about like the great song. Sometimes it's just like the right vibe at the right moment. And you were feeling some type of way with that Happy Meal. I know I felt that same way, like watching Scooby Doo episodes and eating Burger King Happy Meals. Man, that was like my favorite. Like that's like that was like one of my favorite things to do, and I did it. I feel like I did it a lot, mainly because my mom was like getting frustrated with us not wanting to eat leftovers. Like
that's
I think
hilarious.
that was the whole thing for her. But um, you know, from so how long between listening to Eminem on your trampoline to then was it until you came to Nashville for the first time?
Well, Sparta's basically an hour and 15 minutes away from Nashville. So like Nashville was always kind of home to me. We would travel back and forth a lot, but are you
As
meaning
as a
like,
kid?
yeah, are you meaning like from the first time that I heard Eminem to like coming to pursue my career in Nashville, or
Yeah,
just
to the
like,
first time you sold because you started selling CDs like out of your dad's
yeah,
minivan, right?
okay, yeah, yeah. So like, man, I was a kid when I heard them. I don't even 99. What, like I was probably 7 or 8. And then I was probably 14 whenever I was 13 when I got my guitar, and I started playing live shows at dive bars and stuff when I was 15. And then I started coming to Nashville around there. This is kind of a wash for me because there was so much stuff that happened to me between like 2008 and 2013, where there was just like I was going back and forth. I didn't know what actually wanted to do. Like I was trying to go to college for like a backup, career, and then I got accepted on a TV show, America's Got Talent. And then I thought, well, if I can make it on America's Got Talent, then I must have enough talent to be able to, really pursue my career. So uh, that's when I was kind of in between playing in like a cover band and selling CDs of my own. I started coming to Nashville. That to me, that's a weird time period. There was so much that was going on where I was really kind of confused. But I mean, 1999 to 2013, I don't know.
Yeah, but and then the was it like whose idea was it to like you guys should just come through and like start selling CDs and stuff like out of the back of
That
a
was
minivan?
that was definitely my dad. My dad was like he was a hustler, man. Like he saw that early on when I was when I first started playing. I kind of put this band together, and he started booking me gigs. And then he saw that we were good, and we were doing a lot of original material. And then he was like, "I think you need to be doing covers in order to get people to like you." So we started doing covers, and then we got accepted to start playing at like frat parties. And so I did a lot of the frat party stuff. And then my dad was like, "Man, I think if we like went and got a recording of you guys, we could start selling these to these drunk frat guys because they're going to totally be into it. It won't even be the cover music you're playing, but at least we'll be making some money off of it, which will support, you know, being able to continue the band. So he was really kind of the brains of the operation way back in the day.
Uh, I love that.
Yeah,
And
man.
we have a raid here. Scotty, what is up, guys? Were you playing? Were you guys going through Final Fantasy 15? So Seth is new to Twitch, y'all. So there's gonna be a little bit of explaining here and there. So Seth, raids are this really cool function of Twitch where you can basically, and we're gonna do it at the end of our stream too, where everybody who's watching your stream, you could then take all of the viewers and you can all go like watch another stream and like get
Oh,
introduced to a bunch of cool new stuff. So usually when somebody raids, it's people who might not know who you are. So for those of you who are just joining, my name's Chris. I do A&R, artist development professionally, and have been doing that for, it's crazy to say, almost a decade now.
wow.
I've been at Atlantic for 9 years almost, and then worked with a bunch of bands, and I used to go out all the time. I used to run into Seth at shows, whatever, and then it was like the need for being able to be around community and the music community. It was hard during the pandemic, so because without the live shows or those events, like it was hard to have a reason to see each other. So I basically made up this show so that I could like publicly have an awesome conversation with friends and people that I think are dope, even if I'm just meeting them for the first time. In this case, Seth and I know each other pretty well, but I get to know him even better through this interview. And I do 3 streams. Monday's an A&R stream. Wednesday is an A&R stream, but for unreleased music, and then interviews every Friday. So that is what we're doing. And right now we're interviewing Seth Alley, who's an amazing, we call him a genre bending gentleman. He's I think, I don't know if I made that up for you or if I read it somewhere, but
No, you did. You just did that. And it's amazing.
yeah, so we're talking to him about his career so far. We're pretty much still in the beginning phases of it. We're talking about like him and his dad trying to hustle some drunk frat dudes into buying his music. So,
Man, those were the best times, man.
but how did you make those recordings? Were at that point where did you guys know producers that you were gonna do
there
that
was
or?
no, there was this company, and I don't remember the name of it, but they kind of were based like 15 minutes outside of my hometown, Cookeville, Tennessee, which you've probably driven through. But this guy and his I I don't know how the company came about, but it was like a little one-stop shop. They had like a studio set up and like a vocal booth and all this stuff, and they charged us a flat rate to record 10 songs. And so we spent 2 days in this like makeshift studio thing that these people had and made this CD and then just started slinging it, you know?
Dude, yeah, I mean, I used to be in pop punk bands, and we would like try to hustle people outside of like Warped Tour, trying to get them to listen to
Yeah.
our band all the time.
That was that's the worst experience of my life and the best experience of my life because like it taught me so much about like the hustle and the grind that you actually have to have in order to get people to pay attention to you. But it was also heartbreaking, man. I remember the first time, and it was before I had officially moved or really kind of started trying to pursue the music career in Nashville. Uh, I think there it was a CMT week or something, and I was doing like rock and roll music, you know, and but it was one of the big festivals that they have here. And my dad and I thought, well, we'll go to this festival, and while we're out, we'll go down to Broadway and try to book some gigs at Broadway or whatever. And we had CDs, and you just go in and hand these people a CD, and then as you're walking out the door, you would watch them throw it in the trash, and you're just like, that was my money that you know what I mean? So like,
Damn.
tough
Talk,
time.
talk about a humbling experience to go through. Hannah, hi, I see you. Welcome in. So we're like, what I guess between 2011 and then there were we'll get into the deals that you ended up signing and everything like that. But
Yeah.
was that the focus? Was just like in those years between there? Was it just like trying to like sell as many of those burnt CDs as you can? Like, how did that evolve? Like, what
I
did that
think
evolve into? Like,
the
shows? What else?
yeah, the focus for me was I want to be able to do music professionally as a career. I wanted to be a professional artist, and uh, around 2011, like I was going to like a community college. I had a girlfriend that was just not right for me. I was hanging out with a lot of friends that weren't right for me, and life just wasn't right. So I was like, man, I need to really, if I really want to do music, how am I going to do it? And a little backstory on me. At that time, also, I didn't talk to my mother. I hadn't talked to my mother in like 8 years. Um, my mother and father split up whenever I was a young kid, and so uh, some bad stuff happened there, and I just decided I wasn't going to have a relationship with her anymore. And around that time, around 2011, I would say 2012, her and I kind of started talking again. I was just really confused in life, and I was like, man, maybe there's something that I'm missing that I didn't have as a kid. Maybe I should talk to my mother and try to figure things out. And so I started to build a relationship with her, and my dad had helped me again, kind of build this small cult following as like a cover band and slinging the CDs and playing all these dive bars between Atlanta and Nashville and doing college, frat parties and certain events and stuff. Like when I talked to my mom, I was like, I'm really wanting to grow. And she's like, well, I think you need to get outside of your hometown and outside of Nashville. So there was a minute where I started traveling. She took me to New York for the first time, and then she took me to LA. And I was, because I was heavily in my spirits a pop hip hop guy, like that did rock and roll music as a cover band. And Nashville was too close to home. Country wasn't really my thing, although I'm a country kid. I grew up in the country. I just felt like my heart was somewhere else. So kind of going between New York and LA, I was like, man, there's not really, I don't understand the scene here. And so while I was trying to figure that out, my mom was like, hey, I have clients in Nashville, and she's a CPA. So she does people's taxes, if you don't know what a CPA is. But she had clients in Nashville, and she's like, well, I have clients in Nashville, and maybe I could talk to them. Maybe you could stay at their houses if you wanted to come up and try to figure out Nashville. And I was like, that'd be great. So from there, that was probably around the end of 2012. I started driving my dad's old minivan up on Mondays, and I was parking my car at the corner of 18th and Grand. And I would go to like Midtown and like down on Broadway and stuff, and just see if I could run into people. And then throughout the week, Monday through Friday, I would take showers at these clients of my mom's house, and sometimes they would feed me. And then on Friday afternoon, I'd drive back home, stay the weekend, and start all over again. And in that time period, I was parking my car. Um, I was also kind of experimenting with writing and stuff. And this guy that had a studio in this parking lot came out, and he was like, hey, you got to stop parking your car here, man. Like, this is a place of business. And I did I'm an artist, I'm just trying to figure it out. And he was nice enough to invite me into his studio, and we got to talking and stuff. And I played him a song, and then he asked me to play him another one. And then he was like, hey, man, uh, I'll make a deal with you. And I was like, okay. And he was like, I'll produce all your stuff for free, but you're going to have to keep me on as the producer. He's like, I've been in town doing demos for years. He's like, I know how this town works. There's a formula to it. And if you can kind of follow it, I think you could win. And I was like, great. I didn't know anybody else. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And around that
You
time,
just you just met the wizard that let you up on Success Mountain, as far
for
as you
real,
were concerned at that moment.
for real, man, for real. He really was, because like he introduced me to two songwriters that he knew that were like, you know, uh, those types of people that like that. I don't want to really say. Well, maybe they'll never see this. I don't know. I don't know if they have a Twitch account, but those types of people that like maybe had success at one point but then couldn't like follow up with it, so they just become those people that are like always trying to figure it out, and then some way they find this niche where they're like, well, I'm a songwriter, so maybe I can find these kids that are up and coming and write with them and then make a business out of it, you know what I mean, and use my old connections to make things happen. It was that kind of thing. And there was the two writers, and then this guy, his name's Bill McDermott. They kind of took me under their wing, and we wrote like a handful of songs. We recorded all of them, and then they took me around town, and literally within, I think that was like, that was at the end of 2012 is when I met them. At the beginning of 2013, uh, like the new year is when we started recording everything. And I would say probably 6 months later, I started getting offered deals, which is unheard of. I mean, you know how this town works. That doesn't happen.
Oh yeah, that's a really fast timeline for anybody who's keeping up. It's not like, they call it a 10-year town.
Yeah. And so for me, I thought that was not like, it couldn't happen fast enough because I've been playing in bars since I was 15. You know what I mean? And like, I was doing cover, I was doing like 4-hour covers like 3 nights a week in bars. So I was like, yeah, man, this can't happen fast enough. But so yeah, it was about a 6 month time period. I got offered a publishing deal. And then 2 days after I had signed my deal with Sony ATV, this guy called me. There was a manager, and he had wanted me to come by his office. And so I did. And he turned out to be, his name's Clarence Spalding. He ended up being the manager for like Brooks and Dunn. I think he's got Reba now, but like Rascal Flats and a lot of those, like, legendary artists in country music. And he was like, I'd love to manage you, but I want you to really kind of think about it before you say yes. And um so I ended up signing a deal with him, which was a handshake deal. And then 2 months after that, I met Scott Borchetta, and he's telling me that I could be the boy version of Taylor Swift, and like, he offered me a deal. And I mean, at that point, the rest was history. It all just happened so fast.
That's wild. So all of that like happened within like a span of what, 6 months
Oh,
less?
yeah. Well, okay. So I started recording at the very beginning of 2013, like January 1, we started recording. We had a body of work around June or July, and then we started shopping. And uh, I got my pub offer sometime in maybe August or something. And then we officially signed it out. And then yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it in August. And shit, I can't remember, man. Like, it was something like that. But like, I didn't officially sign with Big Machine until early the next year, 2014. So
Got
like,
it.
I got my pub deal and everything. So you're talking a year process. But in that year time period, it went from like recording a crappy little demo project to becoming a professionally signed artist. So
Dude,
I
that's
would say a year.
yeah, that's wild, and I want to talk about the creative process, and in like around that time, because we're
Yeah.
gonna revisit that like as we move through the timeline of of your life so far. So what at that point you said when you were in that van parked illegally outside of the studio, you were experimenting with songwriting and stuff. What was your creative process like around that time? Like, do you remember what your mentality was of like how you approached songwriting, or
Oh
what
man,
what
that's a
was it
great
like?
question. I've actually never had anybody ask me that. Uh, my approach to songwriting at that time was, it's kind of crazy. It's sad to say this, but there was definitely more emotion attached to it. Like, it meant more to me at that time because everything was like so undiscovered. Like, I was sitting in a minivan trying to figure out how I'm going to make it as this artist. And I had the entire world ahead of me, And so like, the sky was the ceiling, So it was like, everything that I felt, everything that I was writing, there was nobody telling me that that wouldn't work, or that didn't make sense, or that's not how the formula is, or that, you know what I mean? Like, there was no, it was just a free kind of time in my life to just experiment and kind of figure out as a person what I was wanting to do. So as far as the songwriting stuff goes, like, I don't know. I think that was at that time in my life, and I've been writing songs since I was a kid, but uh, at that time in my life, it was just a free experience. I don't really know how else to say that. You just don't have a lot of people telling you, getting in your head about things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, until that dude told you to move your van and then told you he had some secrets to tell you, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, like, you know, we're going through this. A lot of people are always taught, and after you answer this, I want to talk about like just what people who are watching this might be thinking about their own careers and everything like that. But in your bio, it mentions that you, by 2013, were signing the publishing deal, record deal, and management contract of your dreams. And that it's written in a way that it feels like it should be followed by or so he thought, dun dun dun, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming there's a reason why it was written that way. Like, did those deals were they in fact the deals of your dreams? Looking back at it now.
I mean, on paper, I mean, when you're sitting in a giant record label office with Scott Borchetta,
And how old were you?
23, 24.
Yeah.
So, when you're sitting in an office with Scott Borchetta, who literally broke Taylor Swift, I mean, you're gonna go, oh, I'm set. You know what I mean? Like, I had no idea what the business was. You know, I just knew that I loved writing music and I wanted to do it. And you're talking about the guy that kind of told me the secrets. Like, that's kind of at that point for me, that's where I think things kind of started to unravel a little bit, because, you know, all of my influences that I had before I got a record deal had nothing to do with country music. So when I'm writing music, I'm pulling from inspirations from, like, you know, all sorts of stuff, right? Not country music. And all of a sudden I've got a guy going, well, that wouldn't be played on country radio, or that's too long of a verse. You know, you got to have a chorus. It's going to blah, 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 you know? And so, you know, all that stuff's great because it does help you kind of like really kind of get better as a songwriter, I guess, like, you know, work on your craft. But yeah, I think that process, you know, I was completely blind to what was going on. You know, you as a kid, you're sitting in front of a TV and you're watching, you know, your heroes or whatever music that you're into, you know, and then all of a sudden you're running in circles with those people, like out of nowhere, you know, like that was crazy to me. I was literally 6 months before that sleeping in a minivan. Now I'm talking to these guys who are offering me these crazy deals. And, you know, I think once I got into that process, I didn't really understand what was going on. And I was, you know, I woke up on any given day and I had so many people in my ears telling me what I needed to do, how I needed to dress, what I needed to say or not say, you know, or like, and somewhere in that time frame, I just got really tired of it. Like, this is kind of skipping ahead, but like at one point I was opening up for like Jason Aldean and Rascal Flatts, all these guys. You're walking out in front of 25,000 people in these outdoor amphitheaters, and I'm standing there and I'm going, this can't be you know, like, this is not the feeling that I thought that I was going to have when I was a kid, you know, watching my idols, you know, do what they did. And I think all that stuff kind of after the fact, you know, you ask out of a deal and you kind of, you know, go in reverse with everything, which is a whole nother thing that I could talk about, but you start to really kind of realize things that you weren't, you know, necessarily understanding at that moment in time. And for me, I think, you know, you're talking about, again, sleeping in a minivan, or and then getting that deal. Like, you'll do anything, you know what I mean? You're like, man, this is an opportunity to make money and to continue to do this as a career. But it's like, I wasn't paying attention to the fact that all of the things that I was doing was not somebody that I am, you know, and that wore down on me very quickly. Which some people do that though. Like, some people are great at just like being the pretty face and anybody tell them what to do, and like, you know, they're happy doing that. For me, like, I'm very much an artist that's like, I want to be known for my craft and what I do and what I say and how unique it is, not just like a cookie cutter kind of follow the rules and play the game, you know. And that's been really tough for me. That's been a battle for me.
Oh, I mean, I can only imagine, man. And this is the thing, is it's like there's a lot of people who are either watching this right now or are gonna watch this later. that are trying to figure out their path right now, right?
Yeah.
Like they're before the deal, and I talk to so many people just being usually in the position that I'm in, that they're like, once I have the record deal, then this success will happen, or like once I
Yeah.
have the publishing deal, then this success will happen. Once I have a manager, like things will really get moving. Like, I guess what what do you like? What kind of advice do you give to somebody who feels like that success comes after those things? As somebody who, in my opinion, has found more success almost like after, maybe in that process of going in reverse. Like, what would you say to somebody who is feeling that way right now, that maybe they would be more successful if they were partnered with somebody in some capacity?
Success is a relative term, like especially in the world that we live in now. I think if you're a person that thinks you're going to the it's that saying, happiness starts with you. You know what I mean? If you're not happy where you're at, you'll never be happy moving forward. And that was a big lesson for me. I was the same way. I thought, man, once I get this deal, or once this happens, or once I play this big show, like then I'll be, satisfied, or I'll be successful. And that's a lie. You know what I mean? Like if you're not comfortable where you're at, like it all starts with you. Like if you think about an industry and the business that we're in, a guy in your position, like you don't want to sign somebody or work with somebody that isn't great, or that doesn't necessarily believe in themselves. You're just there as a tool to help them move along. You're not going to take them and make them who they are. You know what I mean? And I think too many people think that in a business, especially as an artist, when you're in that situation, that you're like, once you get signed to a deal or have a name attached to you, or some sort of backing or whatever, like that, then you will be successful or you will be happy, and that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like there's that internal pressure because it's the things that you think are making it. But then you talked about, going back and forth to your hometown that's not that far away, and then they're asking you like, "Oh, have you made it yet?" Like, what do you
Yeah.
think their idea of you making it versus what your idea of making it is? Like, what's the difference between those two
I
things?
I think their idea of me making it would be, being on TV or living in a mansion somewhere and playing shows in front of thousands and thousands of people, and all that stuff. And my version of making it is, right now, something that I've learned is that I'm able to wake up every day and have a job in the music business, whether that's writing, whether that's producing for another artist, whether it's like being able to chase after my own dreams. Like I'm fortunate enough to have gotten a second chance at that. And to me, that's making it, because I could be sleeping in a minivan. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. You're asking some really good questions though. Like these are really great questions.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to not make it like, and what's your favorite color? And
Yeah.
where does your name come from?
Yeah.
And those kinds of things. I don't know. I honestly, a big part of why I wanted to make this stream was to be able to ask like the questions that, because there's just some questions that like that different scenarios like allow for, like when we're at a dinner party, like I can't really ask these questions, otherwise it becomes like I'm interviewing you for like
Yeah.
a live studio audience of two people.
Yeah.
But it's like, and then same thing like in passing, it's like we take for granted that we see each other all the time, but like to be able to take the time and like sit down and really like get inside of your head, learn something from it for myself, but also give back to others, so
Yeah.
that it's like, because the whole point of the stream was to like, I'm picking people that I feel are successful, and I
Yeah.
feel that you're successful because of just what you just said there, which is that you went through these like peaks of like the deals and all that stuff, like the stuff that people feel like is like the epitome of like where they need to reach to get success. You got on the other side of it, arguably probably went into a valley because you had to go and find yourself.
It was a
And
deep.
some people don't ever come back from it because like they just go and choose something new, and that's completely fine. but
Yeah.
you choose to continue anyways, and I think that says a lot about your love for music and for the process.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like, because if it's about other people validating you, it's like the minute people stop, it's like, I remember Julie Greenwald, who runs Atlantic, she always would remind everybody, like when we'd be celebrating, she's like, after hot comes cold. And she's
Oh,
like, we're not defined by what, she's like, it's easy to sell shit when it's hot. It's easy for us to all be excited to own it when it's hot. But who's going to own it when it's cold?
yeah,
And
man.
who's going to do what it takes to warm things back up again and to like really dig in and make things happen? And the answer is kind of the same no matter what role you're playing in the industry, right? And
Yeah.
it's you're going to be it's going to be the people um, who aren't doing it for the validation. They're doing
Yeah.
it for the process.
Yeah.
So I was excited to have you on here because I know we're talking a lot about that, but I really do think it's an important lesson to learn that you were like gifted to be able to have that, because some people don't get to learn that until they're well into their 30s, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they work
Absolutely.
their whole career trying to get to that point. So to know that that shouldn't be the goal, I think, is important. So today you're independent, right? And in
Right.
both label artistry, but I personally feel like you've accomplished more like just in the past couple of years than maybe you might have done when you had all those deals. But
1000%.
so I guess, what do you attribute that to?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think you
Oh,
are
well,
having more success now with your music than you were before?
well, it's this as well as I do, especially with the music business and the world that we live in with streaming and everything else. Like the business that I grew up idolizing or wanting to be a part of is not the same business model that's here today. And I think I was lucky enough in a time period of like being able to see like the real business side of it from a place. I have a really cool advantage in the sense that like, okay, I got signed early on. I know how labels operate. I know how publishing operates. I know how to do things on the road. I know how to be an artist, but I don't want to be this artist that they're wanting me to be. And so when I asked out of my deal, it was also at this time, you know, when streaming was really becoming a thing. And like, don't necessarily have to go the old routes of like having heavy promo to do your stuff. Like, there's so many ways to get discovered now. It's crazy. And not having those people in my ear saying, no, that won't work, or a team to go, well, we all have to be on the same page about the release date or this song or whatever before we move forward. Like, uh, not having that was just did wonders for me, because it kind of put me back to that mentality of being in a van, and having the sky as the limit. I was like, well, these guys said that this wasn't a great song. I can put it out right now and find out really fast if it's a great song or not. Like, people are the audience, the fans are going to tell me whether that's a great song or not. And so I think not having those voices or that kind of control just opened up so many doors for me. And I have gotten to do a lot more stuff. I haven't gotten to play in front of 25,000 people again, which kind of sucks. But, as an artist, being able to release music and make money and do what I wanted to do, which was be true to myself. And hopefully that resonates with fans that, can make their day happier if they hear my music or whatever. Like that, that's a big deal to me. And that, I've been able to do that now without all of those other things that I thought that I needed. So,
No, I mean, I think again it goes back to just like that's an amazing accomplishment. So we were, I mentioned that we were going to talk about the creative process,
yeah, yeah.
and because all of a sudden now you're kind of looking at your business and thinking about your career differently. Did your creative process, like how you write songs, how like did that change for you?
Yeah,
Like what's different
absolutely.
about it now versus like what it was like when you first started?
Well, all right. So the evolution of me in a nutshell, you know, my dad buys me a guitar because he doesn't want to hear me play drums. He makes me listen to Dave Matthews because he hates Eminem. So uh, I kind of felt like I was forced in a weird way to do something. Like I wanted to be a rapper, right? Like that's what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to be a drummer. I want to be a rock and roll guy, like make beats. But I got this guitar and then I fell in love with these other sounds. So I tried to experiment with that. You know, as a kid, you write, then, fast forward, now I'm in a van, I've pushed the rest of my past and the world behind me. And I'm like, all right, I'm really going to try to figure this out. And lucky enough, I got into good situations with people who kind of took that moment in time when I was trying to figure out who I was and started kind of like putting it in a box a little bit, right? So now I'm writing these songs to fit a certain format and using these outside um, influences to somehow make that work for myself inside this box. And then you're in this deal, right? And I'm getting told to do things that I don't want to do or that aren't me. And so this whole entire time that I'm doing this, I'm trying to figure out, as I have a career, who the hell I am, right? Through writing, like this process. And I mean, just even from the very beginning, like I said, like getting a guitar versus wanting to be a rapper, that's completely, not what I wanted in my mind wanted to do at that moment. So like I feel like the timing was always in those days were never right. It's like when I wanted to do something, this other opportunity, well, maybe this opportunity will help me get to this place where I can do this other thing, right? And so when I had asked out of my deal late in 2015, that's when the whole world kind of crashed in front of me. Like you go from going to all the award shows and hanging out with all the cool people and the famous people and your friends being like, oh, you're some hometown hero. And you know all of my friends that were still in deals and stuff, Instagram was definitely on the up and up at that moment. Like I was watching all of these people that I was running in circles with continue to move forward. Meanwhile, now I'm sitting in, my bathroom beating myself up that I'm just stuck in time. So for me mentally, I started thinking, well, how am I going to come back from this? Like what you were saying. It's like it started this process for me where it's like, how do I become that artist that I wanted to be? What was that guy? Who was that guy? Like, and from that moment on, I just kind of started experimenting. I got chances to do things that like I wouldn't have gotten to do otherwise. Like, because I had a pub deal with Sony ATV, I had access to major pop writers that I wasn't able to write with whenever I was trying to do a country thing. But I was like, hey, I kind of got these things that I want to do. And lucky enough, those guys believed in me and let me go into the rooms with them and kind of experiment with that. And then at some point, a guy that worked at Big Machine left Big Machine and he did like marketing and like a lot of the website design and stuff for them. We were buddies and he was like, hey man, I still believe in you. I think you can make this stuff happen. Why aren't you like trying to pursue the things that you want to do? And we had a real conversation about that. And I was like, man, I really want to do hip hop. Like I've always done hip hop. He's like, well, let's hear some stuff. And I had, because I'd been experimenting with pop music and also had these country organic acoustic type things, I started down this path of trying to like, rap over that stuff. And that led me into meeting a publicist that was tied. This is a big jump too, but this get my friend of mine that was a Big Machine. He started talking to some people that he knew that was outside of the country music business, and we landed this whole thing with a publicist that was tied in with like Chance the Rapper. So really quickly, now I'm like this newbie white kid, that's playing, opening up in front of Rascal Flatts, 25,000 people. That's now going to literally, I'm not joking, sushi restaurants. I'm the only white guy there, like in Atlanta and like all sorts of like just weird, situations where let me back up for a second. So this publicist that I met, she started this thing that in my mind was kind of like how the country music business works as far as like a radio tour. Like you get a group of songs or an artist or a label signs an artist and they put them out on this radio tour, and it's it's to release a song or whatever, and you go around and you visit all the radio stations, you promote yourself, and then hopefully they play your song on radio. Well, this girl was doing
That, but in sushi restaurants.
yeah, this girl was doing a similar thing where she was setting up across the United States these small venues, and she would pick 3 or 4 rappers, and inside those cities she would have hip hop publications come to these cities, and if they fucked with you, then they would interview you, and and there was some big hip hop press there, like, and so basically what she did was is these kids would either have like their CDs or some MP3 of their tracks, and then it's just like an open mic thing, you just start dropping bars in front of groups of people. It was literally my 8 Mile moment, honestly. Like, it's the Eminem, the kid that was listening to Eminem as a kid, like, is now full on living that after having this country career. And there was this moment in my head, that, speaking of this sushi bar, I drove to Atlanta, and I was terrified. Like, I was the only white guy there. I was like, man, these guys, like, hip hop for that community is a way out. It's a lifestyle. It runs in the blood. And I felt like, as a human, I was kind of like taking something that was real to somebody, that was like a fantasy of mine, if that makes sense, and trying to make it a dream for myself. I don't know, it just felt weird. So I was like all in my head about it. And I was, right before I went on, I was talking to this guy, and I don't remember his name, but he had looked me up before I got there, and he was like, man, I really fuck with your music, dude. Like, it's great. And I was like, thanks, man. I'm really nervous. He's like, why are you nervous? And I was like, I'm a country kid, like, and now here I am in the inner city about to rap, like, this is like, it's who I feel like I am, but it's not the way that I was raised. And I was like, I had a country record deal, I'm explaining all this stuff to him. And he looked at me and he's like, man, he's like, I don't really know that much about country, but he's like, what I do know about country is that country is a lot like what hip hop is,
Storytelling.
it's storytelling, and it's your truth. And so if you're being honest and you're being real to who you are, he's like, granted, in both genres there's a bunch of bullshit, right? Like, there's a bunch of whack songs that are out there, but the real people are the authentic ones that stay true to themselves, and they just say what they know. And that's what I was doing. I was only rapping my life or what I knew. So it was like,
Wimble says it's like imposter syndrome or something. Is that like
yeah,
kind of the vibe?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So, like, that conversation with that guy really kind of shook me, because at that time I'd been doing that for a minute, and I was like, all right, still experimenting all these things, right? And I don't really feel like I found who I am as a person. And this guy just said something really profound to me that he didn't realize that he said to me. And now I'm sitting here going, you know what? Why can't I be all of these things? And how do I make all of these things work as just me, And so, when I got back home, I was like, you know what? What's wrong in, like, going back to country music, because that's where I got my start. Like, I know that business, and I kind of at that time had some music that was released out that was kind of working, and I was like, now I can be that guy that I wanted to be. Like, now I can transfuse some of the hip hop with some of the the Goo Goo Dolls, Dave Matthews vibe meets modern country, I guess, of whatever that means now. But, like, all of that stuff for me over those years of just the ups and downs kind of started to combine in this one thing, which in the last 2 or 3 years just kind of really actually started opening up doors for me. I put out music, and I just stayed true to what that was. And you said a key word a while ago, which is the process. Like, I really do enjoy the process of it more than I enjoy the end results. Like, I don't like feeling comfortable. And I don't remember the girl's name that you were just talking about, but that is so true. Like, I've always said, whenever you have an up, it's immediately followed with a down. And too many people, like, they ride on these successes of, number ones, or like getting that crew of people to hype them up and stuff like that. And that stuff, to me, you forget what you're actually doing. And for me, the process of, like, growing and trying to push myself in ways, whether that's productions or writing or just becoming a better artist on stage, whatever it is, like, that's what I've really enjoyed. That's kind of helped me move on to the next thing. So I don't really remember what the whole question was. I hope that I'm kind
No,
of
you are going around it, because we're just talking about the creative process and how it's changed. Like, because before you sort of answered it in the sense of, like, before you were you weren't necessarily creating in the beginning to like figure out who you were. You were sort of almost like creating to get
Yeah.
out of one situation into another, and then you almost had to go backwards, and like you're realizing like once you're in it, you're like, oh shit, like I'm having to figure it out. And it's
Yeah,
almost like
absolutely.
going through that process of realizing like, oh, like the process is figuring myself out, and that never stops. It's not like I get there, it's like I know who I am now. It's like you can forget along the way. You can
Yeah.
it can kind of go away, and then you have to find yourself. You have to go live some life and pour back into the well to pull out of it,
Yeah.
whatever analogy you want to use. But um, the cool thing I feel like about you is that you're not only like really creative on the like audio side, but you're also interested in other things. Like we were talking about like lighting. Could you talk
Yeah.
about just like why did you get so into lights, and what kind of a like is that do you see that as like a creative outlet, or what role
Yeah,
does that play
definitely.
in your life?
A creative outlet. The thing that really got me into lights and just my entire show in general was when I was assigned country artist on Big Machine and I got a chance to go out and tour and play a lot of stuff. There were moments in time where I was getting paid, $10,000, $15,000 a show, which is, as a starting artist, that's not much in the grand scheme of things. But again, going from a minivan to getting paid that much money to play a show is freaking crazy, right? And but at the end of the day, after you pay the band, the hotel, your manager
Yeah, I was
takes
gonna
some,
say the
it,
fees go up, but the costs go up too.
yeah, the per diems and all that stuff. I'm walking away with maybe $200 or something like that. And um, I also having a band, especially as a new up and coming artist, even though I was signed to a record label. Um, I was still just like a baby. I was unproven. So like fighting to have the musicians take time out of their days to play for me or believe in me to help me grow was really complicated. It was like, you do shows or you would do rehearsals and then maybe like 3 or 4 days before your show, your drummer calls you and goes, "Oh man, Carrie Underwood offered me more money and I got to go do this right now. It's not that I don't believe in you, but I just got to take this quick buck while I can." And it's like, I got tired of having to depend on all these other people and then seeing money go out the door that I could have kept in my own pocket. And so I went to an Ed Sheeran show and man, out of anybody on the planet, I wanted to hate that guy more than any human possible, right? And I saw his show and I was completely blown away and I was inspired and I was like, you know what? How do I do my version of that? And how do I do that in country? And so when I started building a live light show and doing all that stuff, nobody in country music is doing that. Nobody's infusing hip hop and being able to put on a full on light show and all that stuff. So it kind of became an obsession of mine and I spent way too much money on it, but it was all for this desire to be able to have complete control myself and not have to depend on anybody. And as a guy like in your position, that if you sign an artist that can take care of all that stuff, like that only opens up more doors, right? Like an agent is going to be able to go, oh, well, I can book this guy, $500 shows or $5,000 shows, and either way, we're not really going to lose any money. You know what I mean? Like we don't have it's all kind of works for itself. So
That's wild. Yeah, somebody Wimble said getting consistent backing when you're a solo artist is a nightmare. I definitely like with
works.
the solo artists that I've worked with, like, because I feel like it kind of goes both ways, where it's like it's nice that you're kind of like you're not having to have like all of these voices in the room like telling you how the music should be,
Yeah,
but then you're having to like trade off that potential thing, except for Ed Sheeran, who's just like, you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna do it like this.
yeah.
But that's it's wild, and it's cool. It's cool to see that like lighting. Do you program that on Ableton, or were you
Ableton.
nice?
Which was that's kind of like songwriting within itself, or like actually programming a light show. If you have like the amount of lights that I have, it's really cool because like I think nowadays somebody said it and I can't remember who told me, but it's like people don't hear music anymore, they see music. Like it's very visual, everything's very visual. So it's like now instead of just telling a story with words, I'm able to kind of like paint this journey in a song through lights. And that's really cool. Like being able to have being able to have the power to go, okay, I want the lights to do this instead of depending on somebody to say, well, they're going to do this, whatever. It's like, that was just really cool, fun process for me. And I love it, honestly. And it's also opened up, oddly enough, I was doing it for myself, and somehow I'm starting to get calls to do jobs for uh, big budget music videos. And I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? But
Well, that's cool.
it
Yeah,
works.
it's like a nice little side hustle on the side. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, just speaking of like all of the things that you have to balance, and because you don't have this like massive team now behind you, right? So like, can you walk us through like a day? Like, I know there's really no average day when you're doing what you do, but
Yeah.
how like what percentage of your day is taken up by writing versus programming lights? Like on a normal day, like what does it look like?
A normal day, like before COVID.
I mean, at this point, I say just during because this is this is this is
It's
normal right now.
Yeah. Well, a normal day for me right now is I have two dogs and I'm married. So I wake up really early in the morning, I let my dogs out, and then I normally start off my day with a nice cup of coffee, and then I uh either read a little bit of a Bible verse and kind of meditate for about 10 or 15 minutes, kind of get my brain set right. And then uh the first hour or two of my day is always like the most productive. Like I love to just like get started in whatever the day's task is, whether it is, if I've got a song right that day, I prepare for that. If it's to build or work on my live show that may happen somewhere down the road, I prepare for that. I kind of set up my days like the night before. I always like to write down what I'm going to do the next day. But an average day for me is, getting the coffee, preparing, getting in the right headspace, and then around 9 o'clock in the morning is when I normally start kind of grinding at whatever it is that I've got to do. And I spend about 2 hours doing that until I get frustrated and I'm completely depressed and want to give up on it altogether. And that normally takes me about an hour to get out of it. And then I jump right back into it and, spend another 3 or 4 hours doing that. And then I'll take a break and grab my first bite of food, which is around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then normally I'll try to, like, I don't know, relax, let my brain take a break. And then if I'm not writing music that day, I try to dive into production stuff. Right now, it's definitely a lot of production stuff for other artists. So I spend my time doing that until I get sick of it. And then I basically just chill the rest of the afternoon, to be honest. Like on a day before COVID, it would be, 9 a.m.
Shows or events or
Yeah,
whatever.
11 or 12 o'clock at night and all over again, whatever that may be. So,
Dude, that's wild. Are you guys finding yourself getting addicted to any like I used to never watch like I guess I don't know if other people would consider it like trash TV, but like I'll watch like I'm now like addicted to The Bachelor. Like to for example, like I'm having to watch this
bro,
like Victoria girl just be a mess and me just be angry and not understanding why I even give a shit about this show right now.
you know what? You're an interesting guy to me because, like, I was telling Maddie a while ago, um, you're that kind of guy that, like, we don't really hang out that much, but when before COVID, like everywhere I went, I would run into you somewhere. Like we ran into each other. When was the last time we ran into each other? We was when we were doing the protests.
Oh yeah, it would have been protest.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like I just like how many thousands of people were on the streets, and what were the chances that I was gonna run into you? Like that's like I always run into you, but like you crack me up because like we don't hang out, but like you're literally doing the same things I do. Like I literally just got into The Bachelor. Like somehow Maddie suckered me into it. And another thing that I watch is and your wife actually. I think of your wife whenever I started watching this is Bob's Burgers
Yeah.
because I remember having a conversation with her one time and she was like, "Yeah," she's like, "I just love Bob's Burgers because it's like." Helps me to just not think about anything else. And I was like, I seriously have gotten into that show heavy.
She's watching right now and is laughing in the chat about the Bob's Burgers thing because
That's
it's true. We've been binging. We can't binge The Bachelor because that comes out every week, but we've been binging Vikings and watching
okay.
that, and we're
Yeah, I
really
haven't
enjoying
seen
it.
that.
Dude, but I don't know, it's wild. But sorry for the derail there, but it's just I'm
No,
like
that's
super
great.
interested in like what the day ends with because I feel like these days like what you fill that time in with that
Yeah.
isn't the shows and the events. It's like crazy how much stuff you can end up watching if you're not doing those things. Because I didn't really watch that much TV before. I was always at
Yeah.
shows or out, and it was like I would basically watch TV, and it would just like be like, oh, you just fall asleep. Like it was.
Do
It,
you ever like feel bad watching TV? Like I have to tell myself, I'm like, this is okay. Like I'm okay that right now that I'm watching TV. Like,
Oh, 100%. Yeah. That's partially why I play video games is because
yeah,
I like the experience of like I feel like it's weird because it's like when I'm working I'm staring at a screen. When I'm supposed to be relaxing I'm staring at a screen. But somehow video games feels more productive to me than
yeah,
watching a TV show even though the things that I'm making happen are things that don't exist. They're just like things
yeah,
that like it's like basically like very complicated like checking like it's like basically a very complicated checklist or like a to-do list where you're like having to do all these crazy things with your fingers and thumbs and then you get to be like I did that cool like I feel like I don't know TV like reading but like there's so much stuff where I was like for a while I was like I think I just don't like reading books. I was like
yeah,
I don't think I like it. And then somebody brought up, they're like, no, you read all day for work. It makes sense why you don't want to read, like to relax. Like, I'm like, oh
yeah,
yeah, that does make sense. I'm texting people. I'm like reading emails, sending emails. Like, I'm basically like writing a novel every day.
yeah,
So,
100%.
so that's wild. So, I mean, let's get back to the music side of stuff, which is like, I mean, obviously you're doing a lot of this stuff yourself, but having like worked with different partners, label management or otherwise, like what are you going to be thinking about when you're going into those meetings? Like what sort of things or what sort of questions are you going to be asking that you might not have asked before? Like, because before it was just like, it looks good on paper. Scott Borchetta worked with Taylor Swift. This
Yeah,
producer worked with these artists. This manager worked with these artists. Like it all looks good on paper.
yeah,
So why wouldn't it just look good with you doing that? But then you learn that the opposite can also be true. So what kind of things are you thinking about now going into those situations?
man. Now I'm thinking about at when I got signed, I was thinking that they were going to do all the work for me and get me to my next level of whatever that would be. Now I've done all the work. So I look at it completely different. It's like, especially with because of the music business, there's less and less money always being made in the music business. And there's so much that's going on out there. Like for me, the fact that I'm able to make money off of my music and stuff, I obviously want to hold keep as much of that as I possibly can, moving forward. That's fair enough that works out for everybody. So there's, I mean, it would just depend on what kind of conversation we would be having. If I was walking into a label and they were offering me a deal, I would want to know, I would want to know that I have creative control over what I'm doing and that, dude, there's a lot of stuff. I don't know. That's a heavy loaded question. Like I just want to be able to have control, if that makes sense. Like be able to continue to do me. I don't want to just sign my life away and somebody tell me what I need to do to, which I think if somebody's going to sign me now, hopefully they would sign me because they one believe in what I'm doing, but they also see the kind of small platform that I've built for myself already. So like I think if somebody was going to sign me, they would go, okay, I don't want to mess this up. I just want to continue to help grow this, however that's going to be. So it would just have to be. That's a that's a that's a weird question.
Hey, but I mean, you kind of just answered it there where it's
Yeah,
like you would rather be in a position where things are going and they're just sort of facilitating what you're doing and just adding to what you're already doing versus
yeah,
like creating something that isn't there. Like I feel like a lot of times I've seen it happen all kinds of ways, but it's like the sooner you kind of involve people, like not only like literally like chronologically, but the sooner you involve people like in you finding yourself, the more you're sort of welcoming this, you know, it's gonna be more people are gonna be there telling you who you are.
Yeah.
And it's like the sooner you do that and the less work you do of deciding who you are along the way, I think people kind of get nervous about like, oh, like if I'm very understanding of who I am, my options, they view the options become limited because then they're like, well, then so and so might not want to work with me or so and so might not want to work
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
We kind of, I feel like in general, we as a society sort of operate under this idea of like that, like, oh, everybody has to like me so that I
Yeah.
can choose and have as many choices as possible of what route I want to go. Like you don't want to believe as somebody who's going down a path that like you that maybe there's only two or three options right now.
Yeah.
Like you want to kind of just believe that anything is possible, which is true, but the more you figure out yourself, the more you start to be like, well, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. It kind of focuses it for you. But I think
Yeah.
people get scared of that focus in a way because it's like suddenly it's like I don't know. It like
That's 100% of who I was whenever I first started. Like, I'm a firm believer that thoughts become things, and I don't think that there's one thing that I necessarily did, wrong whenever I was when I had my deal. But uh, I started to become a yes man. I knew who I was, but like I was just like I thought, well, maybe if this guy likes me and this girl likes me, and if I do this or if I say that or whatever, then that'll help me move up the charts or at least up the rankings in the label's eyes. And you know that ultimately became this thing where everybody started to get confused. Well, this guy doesn't know who he is. This is not like he's telling me this, he's telling you that, or whatever. And I was literally trying to keep those options open. And the whole time I knew who I was or what I wanted to do. So I don't know. That's definitely that's very true.
yeah, it's something I think about a lot because it's on one sense it's like it's easy to sort of be like, oh, it's the artist's responsibility to think about those things, but it really is like my responsibility too as an A&R person is to understand where somebody is and like recognize whether they're just saying yes to me because they want me to like them or if they're saying yes because they believe it.
Yeah.
And I feel like if there's one thing, like if you were to ask me that same question about my process versus like how it is now versus how it is then, is like I wouldn't be. And it's funny that we talked about fighting because I don't like conflict. I don't like conflict selfishly because I just don't feel like dealing with the pain.
Yeah.
But I also don't like conflict because I just think conflict is inherently bad. But conflict in a creative process I think is good because it challenges you to really think about the things you're saying and the things that you believe and why you're saying them and why you believe these things. And also gives you an opportunity when somebody also across from you feels strongly when that conflict comes to give you an opportunity to choose a different way.
Right.
But if you just say yes the entire time, it's like you said, it's sort of it's a slippery slope because suddenly, and I feel like a lot of, I don't think it's just artists that are responsible for figuring that out. I think executives and in general, like anybody that works with an artist needs to understand that is not
Yeah.
exclusively the artist's job to figure out. Like you'll also have to figure that shit out for yourself, which is crazy. But I mean, you talked about like a big thing about you going against the grain is sort of being frustrated with like the formula of
Yeah.
of country music in general. Like what specifically, like, do you feel like that formula still exists that frustrates you, or like does it just look different now, or like what is it about that formula that like frustrates you?
Yeah, in country music in a lot of ways, like um as a country writer, there's like it's like the 10 commandments in the Bible. It's like here's the 10 things that you can write about in country, and you just have to figure out a way to circulate that throughout the song. But you can't
Let me
say
guess,
anything.
beer trucks.
Yeah, you can't say anything outside of that. And it's like as a creative person, you know, there's so much more to my life and the experiences that I have and what I feel that have absolutely nothing to do with a fucking tailgate or beer or you know what I mean? Like, and trying to fit inside that formula. It's very much a thing. I mean, that's like with any genre. There's in hip hop music, there's a certain thing that's always going to be what makes it hip hop. There's a certain thing that always is what's going to make it country. So like, I get frustrated with it, but I think over the years I've found my own way to work around that and still try to be, fit inside that box. So it doesn't bother me like it used to. Um, but I don't know. It's Country music is an interesting animal
No, I
because
get that.
I was gonna say country music like is country writers to me, and I have guys that are from LA that are big pop writers and stuff that admire the shit out of country songwriting. The one of my favorite writers uh, in pop music came to Nashville, and I got a chance to write with him, and he was literally there just because he's always heard about country music and how how serious the writing is, and stuff like that. And like, there's something to be said about the creative side and the process of how country songs are written, because it is, in my opinion, a lot harder than some other genres or things out there. One, because there's only so many things you can write about, but also because the craft of it and the trueness of some things in country music is so real. Like, I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship with it, if that makes sense.
No, I think that's fair to say. I mean, you mentioned that you have a new song coming out in February, right? Like, does that song like what is that song about?
That song is a song that is called One Last, and it's basically me. That song was written so fast, and it's funny. It's like I have a song called Small Town Girl, which is my least favorite song of all time that I have ever written in my life, and it has done the best for me. So this new song that's coming out is kind of like the song. It was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna, you know, quote unquote, create a banger and put it out and see what happens. Because sometimes, sometimes as a songwriter, people can get too in their heads, like things that mean something serious to me, other people never hear in the song. You know what I mean? And so like songs like that I think work sometimes because you're kind of letting go of this idea of what you're trying to portray as a person, and you just kind of like let a song be a song,
Hmm.
because a lot of people just want to hear music and escape, right? Like, they don't necessarily care about my problems or what I'm actually going through or my life experiences. They want something to help them escape. And I think that this new song is just, it's a vibe, man. It's just a bop. Like, it's a simple
Can you
written
give us a
song.
preview of it?
uh
Share with the peeps. Can you play it? You can play it off your computer.
Here, I'll do it for you because you're. I'll just. Can I text this to you or something, like, and let you
If
play it?
if
Because
if if you want, you're also welcome to play on your side. Whatever you want. Whatever's easier.
man, my on my side, to be honest with you, because like we're doing really great this whole time we've been talking. I'm like, I can't believe my computer's not glitched out or messed up on me. Um,
Yeah, feel free to send it to me and we'll play it
I just
that way.
yeah, I just texted to you. So,
Okay, perfect.
yeah, it's just a vibe.
Yeah, and while I'm pulling that up, and because we'll end with listening to that song, and then we're gonna go raid somebody like I was telling you about. While I'm
Great.
pulling that up on the computer, do you want to talk about just like what music is coming out right now that really that's inspiring you? Because I know you mentioned like Dave Matthews Band, Goo Goo Dolls, Coldplay, Jay Z, Tupac, Eminem, stuff like that. But like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what new stuff is exciting you?
Man, it's funny. Are you ever this way? It's like I was joking about this earlier with my wife, like a me- a mechanic's car, right? Like, mechanics work on fucking cars all day long, and the last thing they want to do is go home and work on their own car, and they normally drive around really beat up junker cars that are falling apart. And like, in a weird way, I'm always working on music or doing something with my own craft or working with somebody that I don't never I rarely ever have the time to listen to new things or care to listen to new things. So like right now, I'm in this spell where like I have just like, if I'm not working on something, I don't want to listen to it, you know? So I really don't know what's out there right now, to be honest, outside of what I've been doing myself, which is probably sad, but I'll find.
No, but at the same time, it's cool to be able to like just like really focus in. But with I'm trying to pull up. For some reason, I'm having trouble getting a hold of that song. You texted it to me or did you email it to me?
I texted it to you. It's still going through.
You sure you can't?
let me-
You sure you can't just play it off your computer? I promise it. I promise the computer won't crash.
I'm dead. Here, I'll. Can you hear this?
So no, what you'll do is here, pause it real quick. Just hit that green button at the bottom of Zoom.
Gosh, wait a minute. Green button at the bottom of Zoom
Yeah.
that says share screen.
So click that, but at the top you'll see basic or advanced. Click advanced. This has now become a Zoom tutorial for everybody.
Awesome.
Click advanced and then do music or computer sound only.
Wow. And then what?
And then click OK at the bottom, and a green thing should appear at the top.
Oh, it just says share, and then I'm like open system preferences.
Yeah, click share, that one.
Now what?
Oh wait, hold on. When you click that green button, did it say base? Did you see advanced where it said music or computer sound only?
I did. Open. It's telling me.
Tell me we're horrible with Zoom. Yeah, dude, we're figuring it out over here. So you do that. You click music or computer sound only, and then you click share, and then it should start.
So I click share, but then it's telling me allow Zoom to share your screen.
Oh yeah, you have to say click allow. Yep. And then it'll say allow microphone or whatever.
Yeah, it's not saying any of that stuff now.
Oh, you know what? In the time that we figured it out, so that was your tutorial, but we also did get a hold of the song. So.
Oh, well, perfect. You do it on your end. Terrible.
Dude, I was just, it really was just for us all to learn something new on the stream. So for anybody who's watching this, I'll make sure to put like the point where you can like learn how to do this yourself at home, but in a really like roundabout way, because that's me. All right, it's called One Last. This is we're listening to Seth Alley right now. And this is mixed, mastered, done. Like where is it at?
This is the mix. That's not the master, but yeah, it's done. It's uploaded. It'll come out February 5th.
Sick. So it's an exclusive little preview. Let's go.
I should have done better. I should have listened to you all along. Can you give me one more chance before you move on? 'Cause one last kiss might lead to another. One last dance might last all night. If one last drink gets you coming over, one last time, then that's alright. One last night might lead to a summer. One last
Dude, that was dope. I was like waiting. I was like, how is he gonna? I was like, how's one? I'm always like with country songs. Like
Yeah.
I've like trained myself to be like, look at the title and be like, I wonder what they're gonna do with that one. Like I remembered like somebody who like fought against doing that kind of writing was Casey Musgraves, right? For a while. Like she was
Yeah.
pretty like literal. And then I feel like she did Space Cowboy on her record, and then I was like, okay, Casey, somebody is like giving in to the country writing
Yeah.
thing going on.
The magic hook. Yeah.
Dude, it's wild. So it's just funny. Like I remembered first hearing that album and being like obsessed with all the sounds. So I like went on this like the next week after that NPR first listen, I just like went and met every single person that like touched the record because I was just obsessed with it. I'm glad I did because that ended up being like album of the year and shit. Like so,
Dude, that's awesome.
I made friends with those people real fast.
You know what record that you actually turned me on to that I got really obsessed with the sounds is the 1975.
Dude, yeah. I still am like, that's a band that definitely like I don't know what it is. Like maybe it's just because of the like the young audience, but I don't think people give them enough credit for like what they've accomplished. But it looks like people are saying it's super catchy. They love the breakdown, fancy banjo fingers.
Awesome,
dude. No, I love that. I'm really, really stoked. Hopefully you like this one more than you liked Small Town Girl.
Yeah, man, Small Town Girl was terrible, but somehow it works. I was in a Spotify pitch meeting where I was like, I had 5 or 6 songs.
What just happened? Sorry, 1 second. Oh man, why is it doing this? What the fuck just happened? Okay. I was like, we disappeared. we literally like I don't know. I'm just clearly like not always literate with my computer, but no. So now we're going to. Well, first of all, I wanted to ask, did you produce and like write all of that too, or?
Well, I did not produce. I should say co-produce. I never list myself as a co-producer, but my buddy Ryan Peterson did all the heavy lifting as far as like mixing and really making everything work. But I did play a lot of the parts on it and all that good stuff, and had the vision for where I wanted it to go.
Dope. Well, I love that. I'm on the Twitch front page right now. We've reached the part of the show where we are going to raid. So if you look at your other screen, you'll see yourself for a second, but now you should see. Do you see like the Twitch home screen?
I do not.
There's a little bit of a delay, so it should show up.
Now, yes.
Yeah. So that's funny. My friend plays drums in The Head and the Heart, and it looks like they're doing an interview for him right now with Amazon Music.
Oh, that's dope.
But we're going to go. What we like to do is we like to go into the music streams, looking at like people who just recently started streaming tonight. We'll usually do a tag of some kind. Do you want to raid somebody who's singing?
Sure, why not?
Let's do that.
I want to wait. I want to raid somebody that's like playing video games.
You want to raid somebody that's playing video games? Okay. What kind of, is there a video game that you're really into?
No, bro. You pick it, man. This is what I thought Twitch was.
Man, so I'm like really bad at finding people who are streaming video games because I'm usually raiding somebody who is singing or playing music.
Okay. Well, then if it's a singer or playing music, that's.
But I'm gonna show you it later on, like after stream, about like some of the gaming streams. But does anything in here look interesting to you? There's this person that's saying, "Come sing songs with me."
Yeah, this
Shane. Let's see what they're up to. We can listen to a little bit of it and see what's going on.
Wait. I want to rate this. The guy. Wait. Go down a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna go back. Hold on. Which person?
Go down. Like.
Can you describe what you're seeing?
No. this now I'm seeing us and
Well, it should go back.
yeah, now you're back on the home page or whatever. Here, let me show you on my computer. This is what I'm seeing, which is what you're seeing.
Yes. So
Go down, go down, go down, keep going.
going down.
This guy right here. Wait.
With
This guy.
this person, hold on. Let me see.
All right. Go under that person that you're currently on, and then yeah, right. Okay, now go to your left. The chubby kid that says singing and maybe some gaming.
Oh, dude, I love it. He's streaming. He's working on getting some new equipment. Let's go say hi.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wait, can we hear
Well, guys, yeah, you'll be able to hear him. He's just kind of quiet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a raid, and we'll join in. We'll say hello. He's singing "Stand by Me," classic. So what we're gonna do is Gerard Amo sings. So we're going to raid. Make sure you say hello to him and say that we sent you guys. Thank you for tuning in here and for saying hello to our good friend Seth Alley. Dude, super awesome to talk to you and to catch up. You're absolutely right. It's been way too long since we've gotten to do that. But we will certainly not let so much time go, between this time and the next time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go support this guy and check out his song, request some music. If you're feeling like donating to help him out with some new equipment, do it. I'm definitely going to drop him a little bit something, but just him being there and having you guys say what's up, I think he'll be stoked. So let's go check out how this is going. All right, well, now it's going to click raid. So if you're watching right now, Seth, you just click join raid or whatever, but there should be something that says like in a second.
Okay.
All right, guys. Looks like we've got everybody loaded up. So I will see you on Monday for the A&R stream. For the weekend, enjoy yourselves. I'm going to eat some ice cream and chill the fuck out. All right, Seth. Good seeing you, man.
You too, man.